The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome to our website reseller webinar. I'm Chad Hill and I have Adam Stetzer with me as well.
Good afternoon, everybody. Adam Stetzer here. I'm in the Rochester office and joined by our account management staff. Say hello, everybody. Hello. Hey, how are you? Great to be here today, Chad.
Awesome. Well, we're going to cover some ground here on the website reseller program. So let's jump in this. Today we want to do four things. We first of all want to go back over and review the website reseller program, talk a bit about building a proposal, but we really want to leave some time to go through the project requirements questionnaire, or the PRQ, and make sure everyone's very familiar with how to put together all the information required to actually get a website into our development process and then out to your client. In terms of our program, let's go through the high-level review. What we've built is a WordPress CMS and development team that is able to take all of your requirements and build websites in a white-labeled environment. We've created a template library where we add to that each month, so everything we're doing is template-based, but then customized to your client's specific needs. In order to allow you to provide a very quick price to your customer, we have built a proposal builder tool so that you can go in, and we'll show you how to do that in a minute, but configure a website and then sort of move the slider back and forth in terms of how much work do you want to do versus outsourcing to HubShout. And then, of course, the more work you have us do, the more it costs. The more you want to do yourself, the less it costs, obviously. One of the things we've added then is once that proposal is signed off on and your client's ready to move forward, we've built an online project requirements document. So that allows us to tell you what information we need, and because we're dealing with the three tiers here, your customer, you as the agency, and us as your partner, it allows us to streamline that communication and manage the project more efficiently. So the online project requirements document is a critical part of that. We, of course, have our marketing dashboard that we use for all of our ongoing marketing services, but we're also making that available to any website that you bring in and build with us, because we believe that's a great way of launching the website, but then positioning yourself well to add on services for generating traffic to that website. We also have a fully capable hosting and support environment, so that's all the way from having dedicated hosting environment with plenty of bandwidth and all of the right backup procedures so that you don't have to worry about whether or not, if your hosting partner goes down, there'll be a backup. We have that. And then I think one of the more interesting parts of our program is that the same process you use to build the website, you can also use to make modifications over time. We've probably all been in that situation where 6 months or a year later, after you had someone launch a website for you, your client wants to make a change, and you just have to kind of keep your fingers crossed that you're able to find the person that did it for you in the first place. We've got you covered there. And then the final thing is that we put together, and we're not going to spend much time on this today, but we put together a whole set of collateral and information that you can use so that you can promote your website services that then you're outsourcing to us.
That's great stuff, Chad. I know particularly that support is a big deal in websites. I know a lot of people have a pain point there, finding someone who's reliable and consistent at a reasonable price. I know a lot of web dev guys don't want to take the support maintenance. They think the work's too small. They want to go for the project. So it's a real selling point, I think, of the program here. It's cool stuff.
Right, I agree. So let's jump into some scenarios, because there's nothing like getting into the actual system to see how this all works. So the scenario we want to talk about today is actually a sample site that we built to test out this process ourselves, and that was to launch a white-labeled email software website. So we wanted to go out and talk about a great new white-labeled email solution we have, which of course is part of our suite of software and services. But we wanted to make sure we highlighted that we handled email services for resellers. We had a full editorial and content team, that it's not only just software, but it also is the services to make sure that you can write and send out those email newsletters. This is it's a new product, and they wanted to make sure we had a simple website to reflect it. And then I have a couple things we wanted to highlight. We wanted to highlight services, about, contact, blog. There's a contact number for people calling in. They have a white paper they want people to download, and they have an email newsletter. So let's jump over here and actually take a look at this scenario. So here's the end product, and this is kind of where we ultimately want to go. But I'll show you how we got there. So this is the end product of a simple 5-page website with 3 sliders on the home page, an About Us section. Again, they have a services page here, white labeled email, a contact us page, and then there's a blog as well. So let's take a look at how this would actually flow through our website development process. First of all, I've logged into our demo account, VetHubs. I'm going to click on Admin. And everything you see today, you should see when you log into your portal. So follow these steps, and you'll be able to get your first website proposal done. Today I'm going to go ahead and name this new account white labeled email 4. Okay, it's going to be white labeled email 4.net. Let's skip keywords. We're just doing a website here. Now, as I've mentioned before in other webinars on how to use the proposal tool, I recommend putting in the person's first name and last name because we can create a user account here right now that allows us to share this proposal with them once we get it built. So I'm going to put in that I'm dealing with Bob Jacobs, and this is going to be Bob Jacobs at deleteme.com. Group access, I'm going to go ahead and add this to the VetHubs delivery group so that other people that work at VetHubs can get in here. And I'm going to click Add Account. Now notice when I clicked Add Account, I have the drop-down here selected to Go To Account because that's where we're going to build a proposal off of a campaign on this new account. While this is building that account, the other thing I want to mention again is that this is what you would see on your screens. So I've stripped out any other functionality that you might see in other places. So everything we're doing today, you should be able to see when you log into your portal. Okay, so we've created this account, and just again want to orient you here on the breadcrumbs about where we are. So we're on the white labeled email account, okay? And I'm going to, and you should see here under campaigns that it automatically creates one campaign whenever you add a new account to the system. So we actually want to jump down to the campaign level. So I'm going to click this campaign. And now again, let's look at these breadcrumbs. So I see that I'm in the white labeled email 4 account, and I'm actually in the white labeled email 4.net campaign. Now you'll see under the campaign area, the campaign details screen, a tab for proposals. I'm going to click that. And I'll see there's no proposals on this campaign right now. So I'm going to put in a proposal name called Website Proposal. I'm going to click the plus button, which is going to add that. Okay, so now again, following my breadcrumbs, I'm on the website proposal under the white labeled email 4.net campaign. Now, before I can move forward, I need to add some service plans. So in previous webinars, we talked about how this is where you would then add an SEO service plan or a pay-per-click service plan. In this case, we want to add a website. So we're going to go down towards the bottom here. There's a couple different options. I want to add a new template-based website, which is also known as Service Plan 910. So I'm going to click that. And again, nothing happens unless I then click the plus. So I'm going to add this to my proposal. And now I have a proposal with a website service plan on it. Now you can either, at this point, we default in a base price, but we're going to now go configure this website and get the actual the price for the configuration that we need. So for right now, we can sort of look past that and click View Proposal. Now this is going to take us in to the actual proposal view, And again, we've done previous webinars on how to set up your master proposal template and other factors. But so for today, we're just going to go quickly into the website tab, the web design tab. And then what you'll see here at the bottom is the ability to configure website features. Now you also see this edit section button here as well. You can click that to update the text associated the text on this part of the screen. And that's very useful if during your discussions you've identified that it's important that you have 3 or 4 things on your website. And so if you want to write some text in on this page as part of this proposal that captures what you've talked about, that's where you would do that. But in this case, we're going to go ahead and start moving into configuring the website feature. Okay, so we are now on the Configure Website Features screen. And there's a few things that are important to take note of here. At the top of the screen, you have the ability again to name the project name. It defaults to new website. But the next part is really important. This is where you get into the templates. Now, you have the ability to toggle among all of the templates that are currently available to you. So if I click 1212, that updates the thumbnail. And if I want to better look at that thumbnail, I can click on that here. That opens a new window. It takes me to a full preview of that template. And the same is true for any of the other templates. Now, while we're on the discussion of a template, it is important that while you're building out this proposal that you are talking to your end client about what needs they might have in their website. So this is where you are actually starting to pick which template you're going to ultimately create a price on. So your client would need to be involved here. Now you can send them, click on these links and take the URL here, and we've made this URL white labeled. It says semhosting.net, and you could send them that. The other thing you can do is we've made it so, and I'm going to pull up the HubShout website for a second. We've made it so that on the HubShout website, if you go under Services and Websites, you'll see here that we have this little carousel that allows you to toggle through all the websites. And if you then click on the one that's at the front, it'll again open that particular website template. This carousel is a simple iframe that you can very easily give us a call at customer service, and we can send you the code. Or if you're technically savvy, all you need to do is view the source on this page. I'll show you how to do that really fast. Just view page source. And if you scroll down to the carousel here, there it is right there. So that one line of code, iframe source and then semhosting.net/themes.html with an iframe around that, then that's going to insert that. You do have the ability to adjust and play with the height and the width, and pretty straightforward. So if you take that snippet of code, put it on your website, you too can have a nice little carousel of the available themes, and then invite your client in to review them and decide which one's right for their business. So again, I can click on this. Yep.
I had a reseller on the phone today wanting to use not only the carousel, but also the infographic we have sort of right under the text there. I wondered if you could highlight that in the source code too for anyone else who needs training on that.
Sure.
The one with the baseball and the points. I think those are white labeled enough they could use those. I know it's hosted at S3 as well.
Yeah, sure. So if you come down here, again, you can do File, Find, and just look for semhosting.net. That's going to get you to the right sections. Let me show you how to do that. It's Control F, searching for SEM hosting, and you can see again there's that iframe. So you can just grab that iframe, and then what Adam's talking about is this image here, which is graphic-1.png. And so if anyone ever doesn't know if that's the right graphic, you can just simply click here, and that will show you that, yes, that's the right graphic. So feel free to grab that, and you can either host it on your website, or as Adam said, it's already hosted on Amazon S3, so you can feel free to insert it from there as well.
Excellent, thanks. Yeah, this reseller wanted to make it as easy as possible and wanted to leave it right where it was hosted and just wanted to put their own words between it in the text, but have this carousel and that graphic, almost the same layout we have, but customize it with his marketing copy. And I thought that was a great idea, so we just went through those steps and he had it up and running in about 10 minutes.
That's great. Okay, well, let's bounce back into the proposal. So I'm going to close this preview window that we had up and also close the website, go back into our proposal. So I now need to sort of figure out what is the right template for this customer. And let me just take a look. I think we want a darker background, and I'm sort of replicating what they already have, even though we went through the process here. But to say they're interested in a background that's darker background, they like the blue. So let's open up this 1212 theme. I'll show you one other important step here. Now, when I'm in a theme, there's another thing that you're going to want to take a look at. Each theme that we have, or each template that we have, actually has 8 different color options. So you can see there that this client maybe has a blue, is more into blues, has a blue logo. So I'm going to check out this color 3, Glacier Blue. Okay, and that looks about what I want. This client, again, told me they want some blues in there. They have a blue logo, or that's just their color palette, so this one looks like a good option for me. So I need to remember color 3 because that's what I plug in back on the screen here under color 3. So at this point, I'm starting off and I'm saying, hey, I want the 1212 template and I want it to be the blue color 3. So that's now set up here. Now you can see the total project cost is at this point $523, and that's because that's based on how this website is configured down here. So the next thing that I need to do is start to figure out which pages I want and what the general layout of my website needs to be. Now, as I said earlier, I know that from 2 places, one from the presentation as well as just looking at this as a sample, that I need 5 pages. I need a home, about us, I need a product page, a contact us, and a blog. 5 pages. So let's take a look at this and see where we are in that. So by default, that's what we plug in. We plug in home, about, services, blog, contact. Now, if you had a client who didn't have services but they sold products, you could easily change the page name right here to products. And I'll leave it as services. And now every time you tab out of a field or click out of a field, we do save. So if anyone's ever worried about, is my content being saved, it is being saved here. Now the other thing I wanted to point out that's really important in this whole process is this column, Content Creator. What this is telling us is it's telling us who is going to be providing the actual content or images for each of these pages. Now there are 3 options. There's the client, so that in this case would be your customer is going to be providing you exact copy, or you're maybe going to be cutting and pasting it from their website. The reseller, that would be you writing it, and then or us, and we would be writing it. The important difference for us is we just need to know whether the content you're going to be giving us exact copy that can go right to a developer, or whether we need to have content and or ideas, bullets, that go to a writer on our team who then writes the content, and then it goes to a developer. So that's really the main difference. Let's just take a look at like how this pricing stuff works, though. So right now, this assumes that you would be writing. But if I change it to HubShout, you can see that now the cost has gone up to $179. Let's actually take a look. Let's go back to Reseller here, move that back to 60. Let's click into this page and see what's on the About Us page and how that works. So let's click here. Now what you see here is actually the individual features that are on the About page. So there's a couple definitional things like navigation top and footer. And if you looked at them and said, like, I have no idea what navigation top is, over here to the left, if you scroll down, if you expand the help area, every one of the website features is then explained. So you can just simply click on what is this feature, and a little light box pops up, and you get a 30-second or so video that will explain what it's all about. So those two are informational, and then you can see the things that actually have a price on it. So the base setup is just our fee for going in and creating the page. Then you have a text 300, which again, if you listen to the help section, that's a text box that has about 300 words of text in it, and you have an image styled. Now, an image styled is different than just a regular image. If I drop down this list, you'll see here, I have two options. I have an image or an image styled. An image is just us taking either an image you pick or that you ask us to find and putting it on the page. A graphic designer does not try to blend the edges in or add any sort of transition, and it's just a simple insert of an image. Whereas an image styled, if you pick it, one of our graphic designers takes it and tries to style it a bit so that it just fits into the general design of the website better. Or we can actually, based on some input you provide, pick it and do the styling. So if you wanted to not pay $60 for this page, like, I don't need the fancy styled image, this is a pretty basic website, you could actually remove that here, go to image styled and hit X, and then you could add in a different image, just a regular old image. You still want to pick it here, so let's plug that in. And you see that price for that page has now gone from 60 to 35. So if I go back, you'll now see that the price here, $498, is now updated to reflect that change. Let's say I want to make the same change to services. I'm like, I don't need the fancy image. Let me go in there and just make that same change. So taking out the image styled, and add back in a regular old image. Back to 35. Now, for illustrative purposes later on, I am going to go ahead and change. I'm going to change the contact, or actually, I'll change the services page so that HubShot writes the content. Okay, so that now goes to 189. Let's take a look at that, actually. Okay, so now we're basically doing the $15 setup, $119 for us to write and post the text 300 on that page, and then $20 for us just to do the image insertion, or for us to pick the image and put it on the page. So that'd be $154. Okay, so I'm going to leave this here and move on to another important concept that we need to make sure we cover before we head to the next section, and that's this column, which is layout. So every page except for the home page, you can configure and customize how you want what you want the page layout to look like. So again, let's go back to our demo site so we can see how this actually looks. Again, you can either click on the demo site, or I already have it open here. I'm just going to move over to the demo site. And you'll notice here under layout options, there's a bunch of different ways that each page can be laid out. So the default is right 100. Let's take a look at that. Now, the right 100, when you come into a page, there should be two things that you immediately see. There's what I call the body copy or body content area, which is what we were just defining. We just said that we want a text 300 and we want one photo. So you roughly see that here, a text 300 and one photo. But on the right-hand side, you see these different layout widgets, okay? And in this case, there are three. There's a sidebar right 1, right 2, and right 3. And our general advice is that this is what most websites probably want them to look like. Mostly body copy on the left and a couple widgets that you carry around to promote different things, contact forms or newsletter signups to other parts of the site. But some customers have some pretty complicated things they're trying to communicate. So we can accommodate that. So for example, if you wanted to have a more sophisticated or complicated layout, here's one called left 6. So you still have the basic content area here in the lower right-hand corner. So you have that text 300 and that one image. But now we have a top 1, 2, and 3, as well as a sidebar left 1, 2, and 3. So you kind of have to, at this point, be thinking, what am I trying to communicate here? And let's take a look again at our demo site. Let's take a look at one of the interior pages. So again, this client told us up front, because we're looking at the final product here, but they told us up front that they had a white paper that they might want to give away or have people register for. They wanted a contact form on most of the pages, and they also had a newsletter sign up. So these guys were very call to action oriented. They have lots of different things you can do on every page. So those three fit very well, again, with the Write 100 layout, because they just needed 3 sidebars. You need one for the white paper, one for the contact us, and one for the newsletter. But if they had also had 2 or 3 other things they were trying to communicate, maybe that wouldn't have worked and we needed something more complicated. So I knew going into it that we had those 3, so I was fairly confident that a Write 100 would work, but I did have other options. So let's take a look at then where the Write 100 comes into play. So again, the home page has its own distinct layout. So you're basically, one of the most important things when you're picking a theme is that you pick, or picking a template, is that you pick a template that will work for you on the home page. Home page is typically the most important page, so you don't want to pick a template that you think you want to drastically change, because that will sort of defeat the whole purpose of the template approach. But once you get past the home page and you're into the other pages of the website, that's where you can pick these different layout options. So right now, all 4 of the other pages, About, Services, Blog, and Contact, are all using Write 100. You have the ability, though, to change that. So you could say that, well, I want my blog to have some other layout, a dual 7. Okay. Now, when I changed that, a couple things happened. I have a little warning up here that says, your layout has 7 empty widgets. The reason it has 7 empty widgets is because I just made my layout more complicated. I went to a dual 7, which introduced, let's take a look at what the dual 7 looks like. Again, this is a somewhat advanced topic, so if you're confused by this, go with the Write 100, because it's going to get you a very nice website. But for those of you who are looking for something a little more advanced, this is what the dual 7 would look like. Now let's count them up here, because remember, all my other pages had Write 100. And we know that the Write 100 has a sidebar Write 1, sidebar Write 2, and a sidebar Write 3. But by me selecting that dual 7, I introduced these 3 at the top, 3 new ones on the left, and 1 at the bottom. So our system calculated that, hey, there's 7 new things I need to know what you want to do with. And that's why it's saying we have 7 empty widgets. So go back here. Again, I'm going to just switch this back to Write 100, because I'm going to, in my mind, say, I don't think this client needs anything that complicated, so I don't want to overwhelm them with choices and having to make it more difficult to define this website. So I'm just going to move it back to Write 100. But let's actually now dig in a bit to the layout and figure out how do these sidebar widget, or these different widget areas work. So let's take a look at the layout now. And inside the layout is where you're defining what's in those sidebars. So you can see here that the system is telling us that you need to give me information on filling up 3 layout widgets, the sidebar Write 1, 2, and 3. And currently, by default, we tell you, by just defaulting these things, that best practices, you definitely want a form there. More and more people using Twitter, the more you want that current stream of information. So having a Twitter feed in one of those sidebar areas is also nice. And then we defaulted it to text 30, which means that gives you a little spot to maybe highlight a promotion or have some other static text there that follows you around the website. You might even put your phone number there as well. You have it at the top of you can see here that it's at the top of the screen, but you might also want to have some other contact information sort of tracing you around in the sidebar area. So let me go back to this Write 100 really fast. So you might want some other content following you around in one of these other sidebars. But let's just say that this client, you can see here that our example here didn't have Twitter. They, in fact, had a white paper download and a contact form, and then they actually had another form. So actually they have 3 forms on this, which is pretty unique that they have that many forms. But let's just remove the Twitter because we don't want that. We know we don't want that here. Well, let's say that we'll leave the contact portal. We're going to let's leave the text 30, but maybe this client wants to add in. Let's see here. What other options do we have? Well, maybe they have a video, so they could put in a media player. You're going to provide the video link to us. So now we can have a video also in the sidebar. So you can see here that you're defining, you're matching up the number of features to the number of widgets you have. So you might notice here, if I take this media player out, you'll see over here on the left that the system is now telling me that I need one more feature. And also, if I went back to the previous page, it would be telling me that as well. So I'm going to add in this media player and go back. Okay, so at this point, I have a proposal that I'm happy with. I've picked my theme, I've picked my color, I've got the pages that I want on the site, and I've also gone through and checked out the layout to make sure it matches the kinds of call to actions or primary data that I want to have on every page. I have my wholesale price, $631, and I'm ready to share this with my client. So I'm going to go back.
Jed, I do have a few questions for you if this is a good spot.
Definitely.
Okay. First is, are you guys using WordPress templates to reduce duplicative work, similar to how ASP.NET might use master pages?
Yes, we are. So we're using templates that we use templates to start, and then we obviously add content on top of that.
Right. So it's a customization on top of a template starting block. That helps us reduce any duplicative work of building the admin interface, username, password, some of the basic stuff. Here's another one that came in. If I choose multiple layouts, does that drive up the price of my website? In other words, if I just want to have different content in the middle but want to always have the same thing on the sides, can I make the website cheaper?
Right. So I think that's what this website assumed, but let's take a look at that again. So configure website features. So this website had all of the pages other than the home page with the same layout on the right-hand sidebar. So if you think about this, all 3 of these are right 100s. The price of your total layouts is actually $69. So that's essentially what you're paying to have those sidebars on each of the pages that you create. In this case, the price, you can kind of, when you add it up, the 2 numbers that jump out are the 154. Again, I mentioned earlier that I wanted to have an example for later to show you the difference between a page that you would be providing content and a page where HubShot would be writing the content. So I left that one there. And then the other area here is that there's $303 that go into the home page. Let's actually take a look at that. And Adam, if there's any other questions, I can get those here too.
Yeah, I have a few others. This one's kind of a comment, a bit of a question. We are historically a .NET shop and are not familiar with WordPress. WordPress feels a bit clunky. So I've heard that before, but I don't know if you know off the top of your head, Chad, any of the accolades that WordPress has. It is open source. We did not invent this, of course, and I believe it's the most popular CMS in the world right now. But it's head-to-head with a few others, but generally not .NET based. Most people have gravitated to PHP and some sort of LAMP structure as being the most flexy and least clunky. So I believe that's popular opinion. Again, we didn't make that up. We're sort of following the crowd on best practices there. Another one for you, Chad, is I don't understand updates to the header. It seems like if I wanted to make a change to a header, would I have to click into every page, or are your templates smart enough to just do it once and have it applied to the whole site?
Yeah, let's take a look at that. That's a good question. Let me just go through the home page here, and then we'll go back and talk about that really fast. So you can see that the $303, this is how we get to that price. And again, I can toggle back and forth between the home page and show you some of the features. We've got 3 sliders, okay, where we need both some content and then an image. We have a call to action area. Then we actually have some text here at the bottom. And then we have a gallery at the bottom as well. And so if I look at this home page, let's take a look at some of this, because a few of the things on the home page website features are also universal to the site. So as we look through this, we've got the base setup again, and then we do have some header information here that we keep on the home page. So if you look at this website, at the top, there's a logo, your phone number, and then social media icons. Those are all defined here. Phone number, social media icons. If for whatever reason someone didn't have a Google+, you can just remove that and not have to define that. So let's just say I'm going to do that here, remove the Google+. SEO title tag, that's to be defined later, but that's essentially where you can provide us the title tag. If you want to define it, you can also have us write it. Google Analytics setup, it's a one-time fee. Then we also have the ability to request phone tracking. So we can set up a phone tracking number right here that gets built into the website. And again, what we were trying to do is really think about best practices so that ideally, once you launch this website, the next logical step is let's start marketing campaigns on this. And we wanted to make sure that the website that we launched was sort of ready for those marketing campaigns, meaning that all the tracking had been established and all those things. So, so we get down to past phone tracking. Then we have the slider images, text, and an image. We have the text 300, and then we have the Twitter feed if you'd like that on there, and logo as well. So that's how you get the price for the home page. Okay, so let's hit the question, I think, Adam, about what that, inside these different pages, what that header website feature is all about. So let's go and look at about. So the navigation location top and navigation location footer, this is just a place actually where you can tell us if you want this page in the top or footer navigation. It's not so much that you have to define the whole navigation every time, because as you said, WordPress will automatically build a navigation when a new page is inserted, but you do have the ability to tell it, put this in the, don't put this in the navigation at all. If you want something like a landing page or a hidden page, put it in the top nav. Put it in the top nav, but nest a page under services. And the same thing with footer. You might not want your services page in the footer. You might just want it to be the privacy policy and a couple other things. So that's what you're defining here, not so much that you have to recreate your whole nav structure in every page you add. Did I cover all the questions, Adam?
I think it hits a big one that someone had asked about. Is the code efficient? Are we going to be able to do updates quickly? Is it template driven? The reason we've centered on WordPress and the underlying framework that's running these sites is so we can very rapidly make site-wide updates using best practices of includes efficient code, not a reusable code. So yes, we've got all those in there, all the things you'd want to see. The last question we have here is, are you using a waterfall methodology? Which I think is an interesting one. Someone clearly has been around the block with the SDLC. And Chad and I both have a lot of experience in enterprise application development, using waterfall, using RAD, using different techniques. We've toyed with several of them. This technically is not waterfall, which really would be more appropriate to a large custom build. What we're trying to do is have a very, very low cost point of entry for a website and to let you pull as much of that work as you want onto yourself or outsource it to us. And the way we've accomplished that is by starting with templates. So what you see is what you're going to get, and then having very definable chunks of requirements, as you can see, as Chad's demonstrating, that you fill out to keep the cost down and know exactly what you're going to get. That actually removes those iteration steps that would be typical in a waterfall approach to software development lifecycle, which adds cost and time. We're trying to get rid of those. So no, this is not a traditional large web dev custom project. We're trying to really make it more self-service, which can keep those costs lower for you.
Right. Right. I mean, we've moved some of those steps into the software with logic. So yeah, it's in a way, right, Adam, it's kind of a hybrid of a couple approaches. But the idea was very fast prices, because the feedback from all of you was that it takes too long to get a price. I need to be able to get a quote to my customer very fast. So you can do this if you have if you want to be up at 3 in the morning working on what would it cost to build a website. The system will tell you that, so you don't have to wait until someone gets back to you. That was something that was we heard very clearly, was that people wanted a faster turnaround on price. And then again, the next thing we're about to head into is, okay, I have the price, my client's ready to go. What do you need to get started? Because I need to get this done ASAP. And we also have built that into the product as well. So let's head into that. So we've got a price here, $626. Let's go back. So we're leaving now the configure the website section. We're going back into the sort of the presentation mode of this that you would be able to share with a client. And you'll notice that here at the bottom of the web design section, we still have our text, but now you kind of have this order form of all the things you're going to be getting. Right? So so the client can see they're getting a contact page, a blog, and it's going to have images. Yes, it's actually going to have one image, a text area. And so this is kind of neat, because in a way you really are itemizing all of the features that this website's going to have. And that's very important from a scope control standpoint, because later on when someone says, well, hey, I thought you were going to be doing 9 pages, you can pull out the proposal and say, well, actually, the 9 pages weren't on there, so the price I gave you was for these pages. If you don't see the page on here, it's not in the price. So let's talk about where the price is. The price is on in 2 places, actually. It's under the investment area. And what we've done is we've carried over the markup that was initially set, but let's go change the price. Like, this is actually not the right place. Let's edit this. There's my wholesale price, $626. That's locked down because that's driven by the website features you've defined. You can go change those, and that would update this, but you can't change that here because it's based on the underlying website features. But now you have the ability to set your markup. So if you wanted that to actually be $19.99 because you're doing some other stuff, or just because that's the markup you need, you just change that here. And go back into View Proposal to the investment area, and you see the $19.99 right there. Okay. So let's jump back to proposal settings again. Now this proposal is in draft mode, and that allows you to go in and make these changes as much as you'd like. When you're ready to share it with your client, or at least move it to the next phase, you can move it to active. You'll get a little warning here that says, once you move it out of draft, you can't move it back to draft. The reason we do that is because this is sort of the equivalent of sending out an email with pricing in it. Once you send that out, you can't change it because you've already sent it out. So we don't want you to be able to go in and change all the features around, have your client say go, and it turns out that what they're saying go for is different than what's now in the system. So this proposal is now locked. You have the ability to share the proposal by sending this link, and this is where that email address and that email address and password that we set up on when we first created this account comes in handy, because all you would need to do is grab this URL, that username and password, and say, come check out your website proposal. Here's your login information. Let's review it and talk about it. So that would allow you to share this proposal. Let's say that you go through the proposal, the client's happy, and they're ready to move to the next step. What you're going to do is, in your status area here, you're going to move this from active status to 1. Now, when you move it to the 1 status, again, you can't go back to active because you said you want it. And the main change you're going to see here is that there's now this blue area that says Project Requirements Questionnaire. So again, just let's figure out where we are. We've built this proposal. You've set it up in our system, but you have not yet paid us or done anything else. This is all just sort of building up the requirements phase. So let's take a look at this, because this is the information we need to actually start the project. Let's click over. Okay. Now, each of the pages on the website has its own requirements page. Okay? And remember that most of these, we said you were providing the content, except for, I think, services was the one that we said that we would be writing the copy for. And yeah, great. Okay, so let's take a look at that. So for the Home tab, you would now fill this information out. Now, this is gathering website requirements. This is, this is tough work. It's detailed work. So you've got to fill this information in so that we know what we want to build. Base setup here, we just want a basic description of the website. This is a white label email software and service company. They want leads for their product. Just give our web developers a little idea what this is all about. We have a domain name, whitelabelemail.net. Okay, and again, as I'm tabbing through this, this is updating it, so if at some point you get called away or need to leave, all this information will be saved when you come back to it. I have all the information. I'm just going to open up a couple files here, because I'm going to cut and paste some data in. So I have their phone number. I'm going to grab that. And I'm not going to make you sit through this whole thing, but I do want to just share with you a couple ideas. So I have their Facebook URL here, plugging that in. Got their Twitter handle here. We've already done a little keyword research, and we know that this keyword white label email marketing is important. So, and then it's going to be whitelabelemail.net. Again, remember this. We said here that the reseller is providing this. Google Analytics. It's basically just make up a number here, UA. But if you've already have the number, you just tell us. We can figure out what to do with it from there. Phone tracking. I want an 800 number, toll-free number that rings at, and then I can just grab this number I already entered. Okay, this is a cool thing now. So we're now down in the section on the home page. Let's look at this. We're defining. Now we need to pick our first slider image and content. Okay, so you have two choices here. You can either upload an image that you already have created, or you can search for an image in our image library. So I'm going to actually search for an image in our image library. I'm going to click this. And I'm going to search for email marketing. I'll search for email to keep it simple. Okay, so it returns a bunch of different images that have email associated in some way with them. Some obviously better than others, but let's take a look. Okay, that's definitely email. I'm going to click this one. Now the system is going to remember the selection you made. And now I need to provide the slider text. So let's go back over to my list of data here, and I've got my slider copy one document. And my title is going to be looking for bang for your buck. And I want my copy to be this. Okay. And then I would repeat that for these other pages. Okay. So you'd complete that for the other fields on this page. Now let's take a look at the difference between the home page where the reseller was defining, the partner was defining everything, and that services page where there were a few things where HubShot would be doing it. So the main difference here is that when you get down to the text for that page, instead of it saying provide the exact text, it says please enter a few bullets for the copywriter to use. So again, this is very white labeled in terms, or private labeled in terms of you could actually sit down with your customer, and as long as you define the team that I have a copywriting team versus you're going to provide the exact text, you could sit down with them and not really disclose that this is HubShout. And that's how we built this. We built this so that you could share this PRQ, again, with the same username and password, and let your end customer open up, check things, make sure everything looked right without, through your private label portal, without running into any trouble of disclosing that you're working with HubShout. So when you're done filling out this PRQ, you click the Run Quality Assurance or the Quality Assurance Review link here up at the top or at the bottom. Now what that's going to do is it's going to run through all of the different fields, and it's going to highlight and identify anything that's either not long enough or not filled out, so that we can do a little check for you before we actually have a human review everything. So in this case, there are 30 incomplete requirements, and if you scroll on the page, you'll see here that a nice big red arrow here is on the right saying, hey, I need this information. So you would continue to kind of run through this process until you got all the requirements complete. And then when you run the quality assurance review process the final time, when everything's in there, instead of getting this red bar at the top, you'll say, all the requirements are now in the system. You need to approve the PRQ. Okay, I'm sorry, you need to sign off on the PRQ. And that sign off is your way of basically saying requirements are complete. I'm saying everything's in here, go build the website. So from there, I'm going to bounce back. Actually, are there any questions, Adam, on this so far?
Yeah, no, you're good to go.
Okay. So I'm going to jump back to my presentation and just walk you through a couple of the final steps here. Okay, so we're talking project requirements questionnaire. So again, all the information needs to be gathered here. Either you or your client can complete. Pricing is locked down. So if someone said, hey, this isn't enough information, I actually need 10 more pages, then you would need to create a new proposal in order to have them add those 10 pages. But what we're recommending for most of the people using the system now is that go ahead and let us get started on what you've already defined today. Because what we've done is we've made it very easy and effectively the same price to add more content later. So rather than saying, I'm going to build you a 400-page website and having the requirements definition period take months and months, get up a simpler website sooner and then use our support service, which works very much the same way. You go through, build a quick proposal, you add the content, and our team can have these things turned around very fast. It's a better way of just getting the project done in chunks when you can actually get the person to help define what they need. So then we mentioned the checking requirements and the sign-off. Okay, so let's explain how the PRQ sign-off works. You're going to get that screen that's going to say, sign off on the PRQ. You will sign off on it. If you are also the reseller, if it's not the client signing off on the PRQ, you will then be presented with the SOW screen that says, this is the amount of work you're authorizing, and our policy is to charge 1/2 of it at SOW PRQ acceptance. So then what happens is you accept that. The PRQ then goes to by the end of the next business day, our web dev team will review the PRQ and will either accept it, which means basically accept it and schedule the work, or will reject the PRQ and give you a very specific feedback on what needs to be provided in order to move forward. So at the bottom of this slide, I have an example of that. So there's an example of slider image styled, and it was rejected because, in this case, I made this up, but I said, you typed in gibberish, this is not an acceptable requirement, please provide the exact text that you would like. So if that happens and your PRQ is rejected, you would then come back in. Everything else is locked down. The only thing you can change at that point is just the requirement, the individual website features that needed work. You would make the adjustments to those, and then again, you'd repeat the process. You'd sign off on the PRQ, and then it would go into PRQ review. If it's accepted, you would get a date for when the work would be complete and work would start. Okay, that's Adam. Any other questions before we wrap up?
I think the only one we should hit, Chad, is the one that comes up a lot of times on the phones, which is, wow, this seems really complex and seems like you're making a lot of work here. Isn't this more work than how I used to do it?
Yeah, we have heard that, and usually what we're saying here is that we're basically the total amount of work done isn't really any different, and if anything, rework is very expensive when you're doing website development. So what we're doing here is bringing the requirements forward so that we can actually have a very clearly defined scope, and you can have a clearly defined scope, because ultimately what's good for your dev team is good for you, because you will be managing scope better with your client. And ultimately, we think that we're just bringing forward all the issues that would inevitably sort of rear their ugly heads throughout the dev cycle, and saving time and saving cycles by getting that done up front.
That's exactly right, Chad. And every time we've articulated that, the folks who've been around the block and have built a lot of websites agree fully, because they know how bad things get when scope control is not applied and there's rework. I think for the folks maybe just starting out, it doesn't ring as true to them, and that's because they just haven't been burned on a bad project or lost money building a website because they didn't have these controls. So on that point, if you're just starting out, we ask you to take it a little bit on faith and trust us, having been in the business nearly 20 years and built a lot of websites and worked with many agencies. As Chad said, we're pulling work forward, which makes it appear to be a lot, but in the overall scope of the project, we're actually reducing the work, which means reducing your costs, which means you make more money.
Great. Well, we wanted to talk again about a promotion that we're running right now. The month is nearing a close, but if you have a website that you're interested in testing out and getting up and running, you have the content or at least the ideas of what people want, we're having a promotion where any PRQ that we accept by the end of this month will get 6 months of $1 hosting. Normally, we charge $19.99 for hosting. So this is a $113 value. And again, the only requirement is that you must have the PRQ accepted by us. So you can't just submit a bogus one by 4:30. It has to be ready for our development team to hit the ground running. So I would advise getting this in sometime the middle of next week at the latest, so that you could take advantage of this offer. And as always, we will record this webinar and have it posted on our website tomorrow. So thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to seeing you at the next webinar.
Also encourage you to jump in our forum and continue the discussion with us there. Have a great afternoon.